All right, what is going on, guys? We are back for another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the number one show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we are talking about doing your own research. Now, we are going to be sticking to doing your own research about strength and conditioning habits, because I know if you say doing your own research, that can lead a lot of people to think a lot of different directions based off of what the world's been through over the last 3 or 4 years. But we are going to stick to speaking about strength and conditioning, speaking about strength and conditioning habits, routines, and all the rest. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this one to you guys is because I recently did a podcast with one of my athletes, Dan Kovalchuk. And if you haven't listened to that one, make sure to go back and listen to it as well. But in the episode, he talked about, before working with me, how, he was doing his own strength and conditioning research. And he had picked up a bunch of knowledge. He had, learning from a lot of different sources, and he was putting together his own programs and started to kind of feel like it was improving and he was getting a little bit better. But then he started working with me, and all of a sudden getting a little bit better and kind of improving fucking skyrocketed. And the reason that happens is exactly why I want to bring this episode to you all. Look, there's nothing wrong with doing your own research. There's nothing wrong with sitting down at your computer, Googling strength and conditioning for MMA, and focusing on trying to get the best possible information that you can, and then building that into a program, and then trying to figure out how to balance that program with all of your fight training and all of that. And I've been very open about this, and any coach that isn't open about this is fucking lying. All the information that I deliver to my athletes is on the internet in some capacity or another, all of it. Like, you do not need to hire me or any other strength coach for that matter. Because when an athlete pays a coach, they're not paying the coach for information. They're paying a coach for execution. Because again, you can do your own research. You can build your own programs. You can change up your own programs and tweak and experiment and do this and do that. But guess what? I've already done it. Other coaches, when they do their job properly, have already done it. They've done the research for you. They've done the research for you. They've experimented for you. They've made the mistakes for you. And in turn, they're able to give you the information faster. Now, why is this important? Because a lot of people tell me, oh, money's tight, so I'm just going to keep doing my own strength and conditioning. Fair. If money's tight and you want to do it yourself, that's fair. But I will reframe that for you to think about it a little bit of a different way. If you can get the results that you're going to get on your own 10 times faster, let's say what you're able to do in 2 years, we're able to do in 2 months. How much money is that worth to you? Because if we can improve your gas tank, we can build your strength, build your power. You can now push a pace on anyone. You are that cardio king that you've been longing to be. How much money is that worth to you? And you might say, well, yeah, but I can figure it out myself. Yeah, you can. But if we can figure it out faster, then what happens with your next fight? Instead of gassing out, losing your next fight, going 4-3 in your next 7, and then 3 years from now, hiring on a coach and actually starting that career on the right trajectory. What if we could get you there in the next 3 months? You fight right now, you win because you had the cardio, you had the conditioning, you had everything. And then you fight again in 3 months because your body's healthy and strong because you're doing strength and conditioning work the right way. You win again because the body's feeling good, you're at your best, you continue to improve. And then you fight again in 3 months, and so on and so on and so on. Obviously, yes, I understand there's other outside factors, being able to find matchups, the odd injury, things like that. And I'm not saying that you implement a proper strength and conditioning program and all of a sudden you're never going to lose again. But the idea, guys, is that if you're figuring this stuff out on your own because money's tight right now, so, I'll do it myself, and that causes you to delay your career and delay the progress you can make by 5 years, that's 5 more years you could have been in the UFC. That's 5 more years you could have been making $20,000 to $40,000 to $50,000 a fight instead of $500 to $2,000 a fight. That's 5 years that you could have been making all of your money from fighting and not having to work an outside job because you budgeted, because you took the risk, because you went all in, because you actually decided your career was as important as you said it was, and you did everything it took to actually make it happen. But so many of you guys are so focused on right now. You're so focused on money's tight today, so no. But instead of thinking of it that way, if you were able to switch that mindset, and instead of thinking, well, money's tight, so I can't invest in a coach, think, if I can budget and invest in a coach that's going to be able to speed up the trajectory of my career, I'm going to be making so much more money from the sport because I'm going to be at a higher level in 3 years than I would be if I keep trying to do this myself. So instead of thinking short term, keep thinking long term. Because if you're a high level athlete, you're grinding every day. You know how to focus on the process. You know how to think long term. Yet for some reason, when it comes to self-investment, when it comes to taking that money out of Netflix and a fancier car and, going out 2-3 times a week to eat and all of these other areas that you're spending money, instead of taking it out of there and putting it towards something that can change the trajectory of your career. And I do not say that lightly. I mean every word of it. Change the trajectory of your career. You don't make that investment because you think you can just figure it out on your own. And if you're sitting here right now and you're thinking, well, yeah, that's all well and good, but I can figure it out on my own. Maybe other people can't, but I can because I'm dedicated and I do the right research and blah, blah, blah. Let me flip it on you a little bit. Would you ever go into an MMA fight and say, well, I'll just watch MMA coaching videos on YouTube and I'll figure out all the information I need? Would you ever just say, oh yeah, I'll just watch videos of Gordon Ryan training. I'll just figure out jiu-jitsu? No, you go to a fucking coach. Yet for some reason, and those are the skills. And don't get me wrong, the skills are crucial. I'm not here to tell you that skill training isn't important or you shouldn't work hard at it or whatever, but you go to a coach to improve your skills. But for some reason, so many of you think that when it comes to your gas tank, which is the backbone that allows you to implement your skills, by the way, without a proper gas tank and a proper strength foundation, you cannot implement your skills at the same level. So instead of hiring a coach for that too, like you have for your skills, you're sitting here and you're thinking, oh, I'll just figure that part out myself. Why do you think it's that easy? Why do you think it's that simple to figure out at the highest level how to improve your gas tank the right way, how to actually build the pace that you want to build? Because, guys, I've said it before and I'll say it till I'm blue in the fucking face. Hard work is not everything. The fact that you grind so hard doesn't put your gas tank above anybody else's, because guess what? Everybody else is grinding too. What's going to actually put you to that next level is learning how to develop a proper strength foundation. And that's not just learn how to lift weights. That's learn how to improve the movement patterns with which you lift weights in order to properly focus on the muscle groups you need firing for the movements that you need in your sport. On top of that, you need to learn how to properly periodize your conditioning work, when to focus on the aerobic work, how to focus on the aerobic work, when to switch that focus to more anaerobic work, how to switch that focus to more anaerobic work, how to balance that on top of your skills training, on top of your rest and recovery without burning yourself out and sacrificing in one of those other areas. Because guys, again, I've said this before too, and I feel like we're filling this one with cliches, but cliches are cliches for a reason, right? I've said this one before too. The goal of training is not to show how hard you work. The goal of training is to be ready to fight. And the way you get ready to fight, yes, is by working hard. However, the way you get ready to fight is by working hard, by taking care of your body, by balancing improving your gas tank with improving your skill set, with properly resting and recovering to make sure that you're staying healthy, in order to make sure that we are putting the best version of you possible into the cage or into the ring every single time. Now, the reason that I say that and the reason I bring this up is because so many of you guys out there think I've just got to grind I just smacked the mic arm. My bad. I just got to grind as hard as I can every single day. And then I'm going to be at my absolute best by the time the fight comes around. And then 2 weeks out, you pop something in your shoulder, and then you're coming into the fight. Your knee hurts, your shoulder hurts, your back doesn't quite feel right. And the reason this happens is not part of the game. The reasons that this happens is because you are not training effectively. And I know that's hard to hear, but it's because you are not training effectively. Now, don't get me wrong. Some injuries, yes. However, so many of them are preventable, and so many of them are plain and simple from overuse. You're training too much. You're putting too much strain on the muscle groups or on the joints, and then bad things happen. But if you learned how to properly balance it, you learned how to put together an effective strength and conditioning plan that's going to continuously improve you physically, on top of an effective dose of skills training that's going to continue to improve your skills over the duration of a camp, on top of learning how to recover properly, on top of learning how to fuel your body properly, putting all of that together is what is going to allow you to come into the fight feeling healthy, feeling strong, feeling fast, feeling powerful, confident in your gas tank. That was one of the biggest things from that episode that I did with Dan that really stuck out to me. When we spoke in person for the first time, which was at his fight, because we've been working together online, one of the things he told me that really stuck out and really made me happy as a coach was that he said he's got 14 fights now. And in all 13 of them, the weeks leading up, he's always had anxiety about his gas tank. He's always worried that, what if I don't have the gas to do this whole fight? What if I get tired? What if I'm fatigued? What if I can't last all 3 rounds? And this time, the first time working with me, that wasn't in his head at all. So think about that. When you have those little concerns, am I going to be strong enough for this guy? Am I going to have the endurance for this guy? Am I going to be able to do this fight the way that I want to be able to do this fight? If you were able to take away those concerns and just go into every single fight with the only focus being executing your game plan to the best of your ability, because you know without a doubt you are not going to get tired while that fight is happening, how much better would you be? How much further in your career would you be right now? So what I really want to get across to you guys with this, from this one today, is that you succeed based off of what you are willing to put in. You are going to get further based off of what you are willing to put in. And when it comes to doing your own research, when it comes to training, it is admirable that you're doing that. It's admirable that you want to improve, that you want to put the time and the effort into getting better. And I understand wanting to save the money. I understand not wanting to put more money towards training because there's gym fees, there's equipment fees, there's competition fees, there's coaching fees, all of this stuff. But guys, you've got to ask yourself, how important is this career? How important is this career to you? Because grinding in the gym every day isn't going to be enough to separate you. Learning how to balance it, all those things that I said in this episode, that is what's going to put you over the top. And the ones who are going to be able to do that faster are going to have more experience doing that than you are. And in turn, they're going to rise above while you stay stuck because you refuse to put in that investment. They are going to rise above, and they are going to take those spots and those higher level promotions right out from under you, even if you have more skills than they do, because they were willing to make that investment, because they were willing to pay for speed instead of staying stuck. The last example I'm going to give, guys, is recently I hired business coaches about a year ago now, which feels crazy. But I was running my own business for 3 years before that, and I was coaching for another 12 years before that. And I hired business coaches last year. And in that time, that 3 years of running my own business, I built up a nice little clientele. I was doing okay, wasn't doing great, was, pinching my pennies a little bit, making sure that I was able to get through everything okay. And then within 3 months, they were able to help me triple the size of my company, triple the amount of athletes I was working with, triple the impact I was making every single day than I had built in 3 years. So it took me 3 years to build 1/3 of what they built in 3 months. So think about that in terms of your gas tank. Think about that in terms of your physical ability as an athlete when it comes to being a fighter. If we were able to, in the next 3 months, create an athlete out of you that you haven't been able to build in the last 3 years, how much better are you going to be coming into your next contest? How much better are you going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Let this be the wake-up call that you need to stop trying to figure it out on your own. And those who are willing to pay for speed, get uncomfortable, go all in on themselves are the ones who are going to take those positions in high-level promotions. Those are the ones who are going to take those spots that you want if you're not willing to start investing in yourself on top of the work you're doing right now. So I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. If you got value from this, make sure to share it with a friend, with a coach, with a teammate, with someone you know is going to need to hear this message. Thank you all again. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk again soon.